Welcome to the June 25th, 2018 meeting of the Marquette City Commission. I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you please rise with me and say the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now, City Clerk, could we have the roll call, please?
Thank you, sir. Commissioner Frazier? Here. Commissioner Plord? Commissioner Reynolds?
Here.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Here.
Commissioner Smith?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Here.
And Mayor Campana.
Here. Okay, Commissioner Plord is not here. Do I have a motion to excuse him with reason? Commissioner Reynolds?
I move that we excuse Commissioner Plord as he is out of town.
Is there a second? Commissioner Schlegel?
Second.
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? That passes 6-0. Next, we come to the agenda. Do we have a motion to approve the agenda? Commissioner Frazier?
I make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Is there a second? Commissioner Smith?
Second.
All those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? That passes also 6-0. Next, we come to announcements. I have just one announcement tonight in regards to committees and boards in the city. We have presently 9 committees that have a total of 20 openings. We count on our citizens to volunteer to fill these positions. The committees exist to study and advise the city on areas of concern within the city. A couple, such as the Board of Zoning Appeals, presently has 5 openings, and we have the Harbor Advisory Committee with 4 openings. We would really like to fill those up as soon as we could. This is for residents who are willing to volunteer a few hours each month. Helps make Marquette a better place, an opportunity to do something productive, meet some good people, and help, shape Marquette. If you would like to do this, if you'd like to volunteer for any of these committees, please contact any of the commissioners sitting here. You could call the city manager's office or go online. We hope to see some volunteers. It helps shape our city. Next, we have boards and committees. Tonight, we'd like to welcome one new member. That'd be Evan Bonsall. Evan, if you could meet me at the podium to my right, please. Okay, Evan has asked and volunteered to be on the Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority. I would also like to point out that Evan is also the vice president of the Parks and Recreation Committee. So Evan is doing much more than his share of helping out the city of Marquette. We're pleased to see him do this. We're happy to have him with us. And he's doing all this while he's still a student of peace, correct? You find your way back here. Find your way back to, it's on. You find your way back to, attend the meeting. So you're really going out of your way. We really appreciate it. I'd like to give you a pin. It's the Marquette pin. You probably already have one, but now you got 2 to balance them out. So I thank you very much for stepping up and doing this. I congratulate you, and I'll say a few words.
I would just thank the commission for giving me the opportunity to serve the community in another capacity. I've really enjoyed serving on the Parks and Recreation Board so far. I feel that the Parks and Recreation Board and the Brownfield Redevelopment Authority both are going to have a lot of really important decisions to make in the next couple of years about the future of this community, in conjunction with the City Commission, of course. And so I just want to thank you for giving me that opportunity.
Good.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thanks again.
Thanks.
Yep.
And I'm going to administer the oath as well, Your Honor.
Thank you.
Evan, just want to raise your right hand and read that out loud.
I, Evan Bonsall, do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of Michigan, and the Charter of the City of Marquette, and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of the Marquette Brownfield Redevelopment Authority of the City of Marquette according to the best of my ability. Thank you.
Next, we come to our first public comment of the evening. Public comments, the time when residents may reserve time to speak at a future agenda item tonight, or they may just communicate to us whatever is on their mind. I'm going to open public comment. You have 3 minutes. We need your name and your local address. Does anyone wish to address the commission at this time? Anyone?
Frank Jeffredo, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. To speak on item 3, these are my opinions. Our whole spring consumed, and no effort by this board to give us access to the safe portions of Lighthouse Park. We're not talking about a huge expense here to remove a section of fence and maybe a few dangerous branches. Years of procrastination, just for this current budge to keep adding insult to our injury. June 11th, Mr. Fraser claimed that people who rent tell the city what to do. He forgets that we all are the city. Here we go with the who's who again. Whether someone rents has no bearing on what constitutes appropriate land use. Last time he made an issue of my harbor view, which also has no bearing on my participation. Please get with the program. June 11th, the chair said he's trying to build up our city boards while I'm advising people to volunteer where they'd be better appreciated. I agree our city boards serve worthwhile causes and recommend people serve on them, except under these extreme circumstances. Who wants to serve under a board that eliminates public opportunities for unsound reasons and even rushes each group's annual presentation? Several times presenters have mentioned their very short time limits. 6 or 10 minutes? I mean, that's audacity on the chair's part. It's indicative of his general treatment of public participation. My time on the Lakeshore Task Force was entirely wasted. Why volunteer under this board with so many great causes out there? This board's only hope lies with our 2 new members. If someone can sort this mess out, our committees will automatically remain full. I'll recommend volunteering when this board stops repeating the same types of mistakes we currently, with zero effort to improve, and measures are instituted to disseminate public input, and process is instituted by which decisions are made based on the validity of the suggestions and not so much by who's who. A persistent problem as captured on public record is 2 members' propensities to make statements without accounting for previously presented information. Mr. Campana pulled the epitome of this tactic on June 11th when he said that, quote, in 2005, the intent was to develop Heartwood. I'd read him the original news release that very night, quite emphatically, in fact. He either failed to absorb the comment or purposely circumvented a recorded fact. The intent was to develop 356 acres. There was talk of 600 a short time later, but no more prior to this ad hoc committee. The 2 biggest developers in town had a field day. That's why they recommended parcel 35, based on dollars. They cared less about the trails or that the parcel abuts 2 natural areas, which is critical to connectivity. Members keep saying it's early in the process and Heartwood was listed under new business when it's unfinished business. There's a history here, an utter lack of transparency. For example, the 2005 news release and the illegitimate map. Mr. Plord's idea of selling trails to any entity is ludicrous. Sales of the WE Electries, MGH. What's amazing, you call it the second it happens.
We don't need further comment from you.
Get more.
Would anyone else care to address the commission? Anyone? Seeing none, we're going to close this portion of public comment. We're going to move to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda? Commissioner Reynolds?
I move that the consent agenda be approved.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Stonehouse?
I second the motion.
All those in favor, please say yes.
Yes.
Opposed? Carries 6-0. Next, we come to new business. We have 4 items on new business. First item is the City of Marquette Strategic Plan for the fiscal year 2018 through 2020. City Clerk, could you please give us the background, please?
Thank you, sir. The City Commission convened 2 work sessions on May 23rd and June 11th, 2018 to discuss the fiscal years 2018 to 2020 strategic plan. After deliberative review, the attached draft strategic plan is being presented for consideration by the City Commission. Fiscal effect, none by this action. Recommendation, approve the City of Marquette strategic plan for fiscal years 2018 through 2020 and adopt the strategic plan resolution as presented. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Mr. Verito, you wish to address us? I'd like to remind you, you have 3 minutes.
I do not exceed my time. Frank Jeff Verito, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions. The strategic plan calls for a citizen survey, which suggests that this board may be putting the cart before the horse again. It's more logical to conduct the survey first in order to assemble the most effective strategic plan possible. Instead, you're publishing a plan without adequate knowledge of what our residents' priorities are. Heartwood appears twice in the table of contents, but strictly from a development perspective. The background on page 119 reads, the Commission has expressed the intent of fully implementing the existing plan, then in parentheses, ad hoc committee report that was endorsed by the Planning Commission, end quote. That ad hoc report is illegitimate for reasons already on record, as is the strategic plan that dares to lend that report a scintilla of credibility. The report simply does not represent the feelings of our people, but instead those of our 2 biggest developers in town. If all the areas in orange they recommended are developed, our opportunity will be lost in that preserved area, and that preserved area won't be large enough to serve the needs of tomorrow's population and influx of tourism. The original intent was to develop 356 acres and conserve 2,017, not the 1,063 that's earmarked now. That section needs to be amended to reflect a neutral position until the citizen survey is completed. Preserving what we intended to save originally will help fulfill many activities that are pertinent to strategic planning, all in one decision. Biking, hiking, bird watching, fishing, relaxation, nature study, snowshoeing, and cross-country skiing. Ours just by keeping a promise. I lack the time to delve into the strategic plan except for certain sections. There's a section on enhancing the shore between Howley and Pine Street, which is great, but I couldn't find a section on saving Shiras Park from eroding away. It may be there. If so, great. If not, it needs to be added. The sales of Wisconsin Electric Energy's property, MGH, can all go toward making the taxes to achieve that and make that possible. Of course, the headline in tonight's paper reads that a vote is expected tonight, which seems accurate because they realize as well as any of us that this board forces items through almost always without a second reading. You'll motion to approve it just to get it off our agenda. No one's willing to wait or to amend anything. It's all or nothing. My recommendation is to wait until the citizen survey is completed instead of ruining our opportunities in the 11th hour.
Okay, do we have a motion to accept this item? Commissioner Frazier.
I make a motion to approve the strategic plan as written.
Do we have a second?
Your Can we clarify that motion because there's a resolution involved? Maybe he could read the recommendation if that's the intent.
Okay. Commissioner Frazier, you want to read the? You have it on you? Okay. I'll repeat it. I'll repeat it.
I got it.
So you got it. You got it.
I got it.
Take,
Approve the City of Marquette strategic plan for fiscal years 2018 through 2020 and adopt the strategic plan resolution as presented.
very good. Do we have a second? Thank you. Commissioner Stonehouse.
I will second that motion. I do second that.
Any discussion? Commissioner Frazier, anything?
No discussion.
Commissioner Stonehouse?
Only that's a good plan, and it is a plan. People have to understand the difference between a plan and execute. Execute is what we're going to do and have the necessary parameters to have it accomplished. And a plan is simply really what we would like to be able to do, if that makes sense. So it's a good planning document, and I think it'll work well for us for next year or so, and then we'll take a look at it again. It's a living document. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? I know that we spent time on this, and it actually went smoothly. There wasn't a lot of areas of debate, so we tend to believe that this is going to be a good plan for the next couple of years. See no further comment. All those in favor, please. This is a roll call, excuse me.
Thank you,
City
sir.
Clerk.
Commissioner Frazier?
Yep.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel?
Yes.
Commissioner Smith?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse?
Yes.
Mayor Campana?
Yes, that carries 6-0. Okay, our second new business item of the evening. Street improvements, bituminous paving, and sanitary lateral replacements in conjunction with the Mcclellan Avenue widening project. City Clerk, please give us background.
Thank you, sir. The City of Marquette's approved capital improvement plan for fiscal year 2018 has prioritized streets that are in need of heavy and preventive maintenance activities to extend the life of the asphaltic concrete pavement structure. Proposed heavy maintenance activities include milling, thin overlays, curb repairs, and removal of undesirable materials. The heavy maintenance process will increase the surface life of the street by 12 to 15 years, and thus extend the time before a complete street structure reconstruction is needed. Streets that will require heavy maintenance activities include Kimber Avenue from Mildred to Fair, Lincoln Avenue from College to Center, Ridge Street from 6th to 7th, Pioneer Road from M553 to the Flink Farm Road, Magnetic Street from Front to the cul-de-sac, Ohio from Front to 3rd, Park from Lee to 7th, Pine Street from K to Fair and from Fair to 668 feet north, Prospect Street from 3rd to 4th, 3rd Street from Mather to Fisher, Wright Street from Ontario to the city limits, Jenny Lane from its south end to its north end, Huntington Street from Granite to Jenny Lane. Overband crack filling will also be completed at various locations throughout the city of Marquette. The preventive maintenance activities include the crack sealing of 4 miles of street. The crack sealing will prolong the street life by 3 or more years before heavy maintenance or additional preventive maintenance activities are required. The Mcclellan Avenue widening project will widen Mcclellan Avenue to include a designated center turn lane from Washington Street to a point south of the public service garage entrance. As part of this project, storm sewer will be upgraded and extended, and a permanent island will be constructed on Barriga Avenue east of Mcclellan Avenue to prevent left-hand turns onto Mcclellan Avenue. This project is part of the planned Marquette Hospital transportation improvements. This bid package was created to address priorities for heavy and preventative maintenance in our capital improvement plan and to replace those sanitary sewer Orangeburg laterals that reside in that same area of roadway. Bids for the project were opened on June 15, 2018. One contractor responded to our request for bids. The results are summarized below. The engineer's estimate was $2,102,256.95, and the bid from Oberstar Inc. Was, as checked, was $2,611,929.70. Fiscal effect: this project was approved under the fiscal year 2018 budget. Sufficient funds are available for this project using this project's budgeted amount and from previous projects bid this year that have come in under budget. This project will be part of the fiscal year 2018 bond package. Recommendation: award a contract for the street improvements, bituminous paving, and sanitary lateral replacements in conjunction with the Mcclellan Avenue project to Oberstar Inc. in the amount of $2,611,929.70 at the unit prices bid. Alternatives as determined by the Commission.
Thank you. Do we have a motion? Does someone care to make a motion to accept this? Commissioner Stonehouse.
I motion to approve a resolution authorizing the 2018 general obligation capital improvement bonds and authorize the city clerk to sign such resolution.
That's a different item.
Did I miss it?
No, it's the
Street improvement.
That's what I read, I thought.
Yeah, hold it.
Well, let's try that again. I motion to approve a resolution authorizing the 2018 general obligation capital
No.
bonds.
That comes next.
That What's next?
Street paving, it's the street paving.
Which one am I doing? That's the one I read.
Yeah, we're not doing this one.
Oh,
Here's here.
I'm lost.
Read it out here. Right there.
Confusion reigns. I recommend to award a contract for the street improvement Bituminous paving and sanitary lateral replacements in conjunction with the Mcclellan Avenue project, Obastar, Inc., in the amount of $2,611,900. Let me restate that. $2,611,929.70 at unit prices bid.
We got it. Is there a second? Commissioner Reynolds.
Second.
How to work that one.
Any comment? Commissioner Stonehouse, anything?
No further normal business.
Commissioner Reynolds?
Yeah, my only comment really is that I had a little bit of an issue with the fact it went so much over budget. So when I had my agenda review with the commission on Friday, Mike kind of went into why he thinks we still should go forward with that. So I just wanted him to maybe explain that to the rest of us, because he gave us a little snippet why it's important to continue to do these things now.
Either City Commissioner or Dennis? Who wants to take this on?
Go ahead, Dennis. Thank you. Well, we did have a little bit of a higher bid with what we would normally see from a local firm using local labor, but you know that, and where it really stems from within this is the SIMP portion of the project. I think we had an engineer's estimate in the high fives, low 600,000, and it came in around 8, which is pretty significant, 25%. A lot of that is due to higher asphalt prices and higher prices on sanitary sewer lateral work that is higher than what we saw last year and on some of our current projects. We did speak with Payne and Dolan, who's actually not part of this, to kind of investigate some of the higher asphalt prices, and seems that the refinery fire in Duluth and a number of other challenges have seen that cost rise pretty significantly. Coupled with the fact that, you know, the events that occurred, unfortunately, in Houghton during the past week, we felt it wouldn't be prudent to rebid at this time, because if we get a bid, because we only have one now, the price could actually go up because of all the work that is needed in that area. So with that, we did bring forth the recommendation, finding that, you know, the reasons for the high bid seem to be, although not necessarily in our favor, they seem to be truthful and accurate. So thank you.
Thank you.
I just got to throw in there that our city engineer has been on about a good 3-year run of saving us a lot of money. So I wasn't too upset about one, really, from an administrative standpoint.
Do you have any further comments? I'd just like to throw out there that if we didn't do this now, this summer, there's 14 roads in the city that won't get fixed. So we kind of don't want that to happen. We could wait till next year, but not a good thing. Might be worse next year. You know, might be higher. Seeing no further comment, all those in favor, please say yes.
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 Opposed? That carries 6-0. Our next item is a resolution authorizing 2018 general obligation capital improvement bonds. City Clerk, could you give us the background?
Thank you, sir. In order to continue the process of issuing capital improvement bonds for fiscal year 2018 projects, a resolution must be approved that will authorize the sale of the bonds. A notice of intent resolution was approved on May 14th, 2018. Projects proposed to be financed with this bond issue are attached. These are projects that have been budgeted and include a Brownfield Authority project that will be paid by Brownfield TIF capture. Fiscal effect: debt service schedules will be produced upon closing, currently scheduled for July 31st, 2018. Recommendation, approve a resolution authorizing 2018 general obligation capital improvement bonds and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you. Would there be a motion? Commissioner Reynolds?
I move that we adopt a resolution authorizing the 2018 general obligation capital improvement bonds and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution.
Do we have a second? Commissioner Frazier?
Second.
Do you have any comment? Commissioner Reynolds, anything?
None.
None? Commissioner Frazier, comments anywhere else? Good. This also being a resolution is a roll call vote. City Clerk, could you?
Commissioner Frazier,
Yes.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse,
Yes.
and Mayor Campana.
Yes. That carries 6-0. Okay, our last new business item of the evening is a resolution authorizing issuance of 2018 Michigan Transportation Fund bonds. City Clerk, again, could you give us the background?
Thank you, sir. In order to finance part of the capital projects for fiscal year 2018, an authorizing resolution must be approved to issue Michigan Transportation Fund, MTF, bonds. Fiscal year 2018 capital projects will be financed utilizing 3 different funding mechanisms: capital improvement bonds, building authority bonds, and MTF bonds. The projects to be financed via MTF bonds are shown in the attached schedule. Fiscal effect: debt service schedules will be produced upon closing, currently scheduled for July 31st, 2018. Recommendation: approve a resolution authorizing issuance of 2018 Michigan Transportation Fund bonds and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution. Alternatives as determined by the commission.
Thank you. We have a motion. Commissioner Smith.
I move that we approve a resolution authorizing issuance of 2018 Michigan Transportation Fund bonds and authorize the city clerk to sign the resolution.
Thank you. Do we have a second? Commissioner Reynolds?
Second.
Any comment? Comments anywhere else? Seeing none, another resolution. City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Frazier.
Chris.
Commissioner Reynolds,
Yes.
Commissioner Schlegel,
Yes.
Commissioner Smith,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse, and Mayor Campana.
Yes, carries 6-0. Now we move to our second public comment of the evening. Again, you have 3 minutes to address us. I'm going to open public comment. We just need name and address, please. Does anybody wish to address us at this time?
Good evening, Margaret Brum, 404 East Magnetic Street. Most of my comments have to do with a request for comments from various commissioners on various issues, and also from the city manager. Commissioner Smith, I had a colleague of mine who is unfortunately confined to a wheelchair asked me the status of the mats that were going to be part of a grant that was going to be applied for, and see if those grant had come through, and if so, when those mats would be deployed. And I checked at the City Hall, and apparently the grant process is continuing, and I'd like an update if possible on that. City manager, I sat on the floor 2 weeks ago, very dignified, and this room couldn't have been different. There was 80 people jammed in here asking about the request for qualifications, and I believe the date that they were due was June 15th, and I see nothing in the public record or in the record of this meeting. And I don't know if I have to do a Freedom of Information Act request, but if it's possible, I'd like you to tell how many requests for qualifications were received, and are they available for public inspection absent a Freedom of Information Act request. And in terms of the city, I wanted to compliment, it's going to be awkward how I say this, even though I want Picnic Rocks Park to go back to the way it was, I've noticed that the way that it's been put together now is being adopted nicely by the people who come there. Half of the parking lot is still a parking lot, and the other half has been sectioned off using the existing wooden pilings, and a bunch of picnic tables have been put there. And if you didn't know better, if you didn't know it had been destroyed by a horrible storm, you might have thought that this was actually the plan to begin with. So again, I've been talking about Picnic Rock Park since it was destroyed, and I wanted to compliment the city on the time and effort they've put into making that look better, for want of a better term. So again, my request is for comments from Commissioner Smith and from City Manager Angeli. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, everybody. Matthew Lutenberger, 1406 Garfield Ave, here in Marquette. I'm gonna try to keep two hats separated for this conversation. First, as a citizen and as a commenter on this before, I had concerns about the $20 million Johnson Controls 20-year plan, but I will say, fortunately, I was able to use the restrooms on this level that have been refurbished, and by all means, thank you. Literally, thank you. They're tremendously better. We no longer have, by the way, we no longer have the 20-year-old tiles in there. We have a new set of tiles, and that's beautiful. Everything works great. It looks really nice. The new light posts that are going in around town, by all means, thank you. They're more solid. They they look more, I guess, city-like. So by all means, I knew I was a critic. I wanted to say thank you for that, and I wanted to echo Ms. Brum about the picnic rocks. It looks phenomenal. Sure, there's always going to be work, but for what you have and for what's going on, by all means, that's great. On another, I guess, thing of past comments that I've made, the road on College Ave, going past the hospital and going past St. Michael's Church, I'm disappointed that it's not part of this Bituminous plan that you guys just approved. I was kind of hoping that that was part of it. After Mr. Schlegel, you said you hope that the city will find a way to fix this, the potholes there. I was hoping that was the plan, but I guess it's not. Now to switch gears, I sent you all a letter saying basically something that I've been thinking about for the last 2 years. Since 2016, I have thought of reusing the We Energy's electrical power plant and the hospital location for various reasons. And I've gone personally out to try to find my own methods of and sources. And like I said, I've come up with a lot of plans. Almost every single land developing company that I've ever talked to says, this is great, but the history of this location, both locations, are tax tribunals. So my question to you is to say, this is not a campaign issue, and I don't want to make it a campaign issue. I want to make it a citizen thing and a citizen issue, because I don't personally think I'm going to be running any of it. I would love to see the city of Marquette and every single senior high school student go down the road and go to work for this location. That being said, I wish we as a city will take it over as our ownership. And yes, there's a lot of work that goes involved. Yes, there's a lot of committees that have to be formed or at least contacted. Again, I'm not part of the LSCP. I'm not part of the community development of this town. I'm a person with an idea, and I think this is a multi-generational, multi-billion-dollar idea that will bring us a lot of money. So please consider that letter, and my time is up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Frank Ciaferro, 350 East Ridge, Marquette. These are my opinions. June 11th, I said the attorney had misspoken when he said the mayor felt commenting on consent agendas was a bad idea. My apologies to the attorney, who was not the intended target. The point remains that Mr. Stonehouse, not this mayor, was the impetus for the 5-2 vote to ban our newfound opportunity to comment on consent items. This is evident on a May 14th public record. Upon being called up to speak on a consent item, Mr. Stonehouse briefly whispered his disapproval to the chair. The chair didn't know one way or the other until he was influenced otherwise. An equally compelling example occurred June 11th when Mr. Plord interrupted public comment as I accused the Heartwood Committee of being loaded. Mr. Campana said, "He's right. Bought a line of bull as gospel without a thought," when Mr. Plord was dead wrong. If something about democracy bothers these men, they're encouraged to partake elsewhere. We've reported his interruptions before on January 9 and October 30, 2017 in great detail. Each time the chair was advised to ask the attorney who's paid to be here. Mr. Plord is no attorney. These comments are stated as opinions. Mr. Plord wouldn't know the ad hoc committee was loaded or not. He is urged again not to throw his weight around in here and to take all presented information into account when rebutting. June 11th, the chair accused me of attacking Mr. Stonehouse, who is absent. I have no idea who will be absent while preparing comments and don't intend to scramble in the audience revising when certain members don't show up. Let me know a week ahead and I'll comment accordingly. Now that Mr. Stonehouse has returned and reviewed the meeting, he may rebut as he sees fit. June 11th, the chair said of Hartwood, "The trails are in the trees, not through homes. I get it. This is the beginning of the process," end quotes. I was participating long before Mr. Campana came onto the scene. This is not the beginning, and he doesn't get it. In fact, that's a lot of our problem. Lots of sick history preceded his presence here, and it's no better now. No more transparent. Not when key members respond without accounting for previously reported information and tell us only what they want heard. For 20 years, I've tried to alert the public to what's now evident. The new yacht club fence is an example where everything gets so privatized and less personal, as evident in hundreds of cities that preceded us on the development curve. This board just let it happen anyway, blocked views and all. The criticism is etched on public record, never to be erased. March 28th, 2005, I told this board, quote, "One thing we've learned in the past 7 years is that the commission cannot be trusted on land use or political issues. They claim they'll develop only 356 acres of the 2,373, but nothing stops them from securing 4 votes to develop more down the road," end quote. Was that right on or not?
Anyone else? Would anyone else care to address the commission? Seeing none, we're going to close public comment. We're going to move to comments from the commission. Commissioner Smith, would you like to start off?
Sure. So this past week, I had an opportunity on Thursday to tour the new One Marquette Place and also to attend the Trillium House ribbon cutting open house. 2 entirely different events, kind of different moods in the rooms. A lot of excitement at the One Marquette Place for the development there. People looking to buy property within that development. A lot of tours, still pretty. I know they're moving their way along, but there's not a lot in there yet. There will be. It's pretty in there if anyone gets a chance to check it out. And then the Trillium House, which I learned a little bit more about on Thursday, is really a home for people who are going through end-of-life treatment and need somewhere to do it other than their own home. So it's not hospice. Hospice doesn't pay for the folks to be there, but it's a place for them to go and then use whatever other services they need to. So that was really moving, and just grateful to be able to go to those kinds of things and sit on the commission and see what's going on in our community. That's all.
Thank you. Commissioner Frazier?
I agree, Commissioner Smith. I went to the One Marquette Drive-2 thing, and it was a great venue, very interesting place to start on a construction street. But there are a lot of interest and a lot of people looking around, great views and great ideas. And as far as, we have people comment, if you're interested in trying to help us change the city, then run for commission. I mean, that's the thing. We want people to run for a committee or run for a commission. I mean, if you want to change the city, run for commission. It saves the people who vote for you. I mean, unfortunately, we have 2 people. We have all of it been voted by people. So, as far as We Energies, it's a big process. And from what I learned from after the One Marquette Place, which the Brownfield Committee had a thing going on, and I learned from a developer there that they hire people to clean that place up. They hire companies that take all responsibility for the whole thing. That's what We Energies, from what I've told, is looking at doing, hiring some company to come in, take advantage of all the resources, take down the building, get rid of all the waste, and then turn it back over to the city eventually. So, we'll see when it gets done. If it looks good, then we'll see somebody possibly interested in it. So I think it's good.
Thank you. Commissioner Schlegel?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just a couple of quick things. My first time going to the farmer's market this season. was fabulous. If you haven't been there, get out on that Saturday morning and take advantage of the not only a great venue that the DDA has done a nice job with, but really the quality of the vending that's going on there, the amount of options that we can get. I'm not going to, since I haven't had dinner, I'm not going to tell you about my great Sunday meal that I've prepared after visiting the farmers market, but it was fabulous. And I'm excited to be able to kick money back into those small businesses. It's a great program that they've got there. So get out and see the farmers market. I'm sure, I wish Matt would have stuck around about talking about potholes around the hospital. I'm very confident in our engineering department that they will go through and fill any needed potholes, especially along College. It's a good decision that we've made to not take drastic measures in reconstructing that road as of right now, but will be addressed in the future, I'm sure, because we wouldn't want to do all the work to it, and only to have it torn up or damaged from work that will be happening there in the very near future, we can assume. Other than that, got a call from a constituent about the flags not being up at Shiras Park. Talked with John Parks and Rec there. He's working on getting those replaced. Also, the flagpole there was damaged from the storm last fall, so there is some issue. So just because you don't see the flags there, don't assume that it's a safe place to swim. Please pay attention to recommendations that are posted through the city, and stay safe. Have a great summer. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Reynolds?
The only two comments I have, one is that just a reminder that we don't have a meeting next week, so it's Food Fest next week for everyone, 4th of July, all that fun stuff. I did have a question from a constituent, and as Mr. Verito brought up tonight, City Manager, when you do your comments, could you please give us an update on Lighthouse Park and when that will be open? I did get asked that as well.
Mayor Pro Tem Stonehouse.
A couple of quick comments, if I can. Obviously, 4th of July coming up, asking everybody to please be safe and be careful. Fireworks and a little bit of good drink and a little bit of music and a little bit of fun can lead to some bad decisions sometimes. So I'm just asking everybody, please take a gulp and enjoy it all, but please be careful too. I noticed a couple weeks ago an interesting phenomenon in town. I was sitting at a meeting with maybe 8 people. Maybe 4 of them were millennial and maybe the other 4 were in their 50s and 60s. And I realized as we went through the meeting, I was the only one there that actually remembered and touched the coal piles at Madison. The others didn't know about it. Or they had some vague memory that there used to be something here, but the actual understanding of what was there and and comparing that to what is there now, it just was beyond them. They didn't have that experience. And with that in mind, I also realized that the same phenomena was happening with One Marquette Place. In other words, they see it, but many people don't realize the old oil farm, the tank farm that used to be exactly where that and part of the Hampton Inn are, that they just didn't know because they weren't here, or they've conveniently forgotten it, or time just erodes memory. So you see what's there and you say, I don't like that. But if you think back, you probably didn't like the tank farm very much either. And the same argument also applies to Founder's Landing. People tend now, many people that weren't here when that was a contaminated rail yard, abandoned, don't remember that. They don't know that, so they kind of had this vision that once was beautiful, pristine lakeshore that all this was built on. And this is a phenomenon that occurs as people age, and one generation passes that has the memories, and the others that are coming up haven't had those memories, and they don't know because they didn't experience it. People might remember the Lakeshore Engineering Building down on the curve where the Mexican restaurant is in Iron Bay, that it wasn't so long ago when that roof was nearly completely collapsed. And it literally, you could argue, was on the verge of being torn down. And now we've, of course, got a beautiful condo restaurant set right on the harbor. But people, as they pass, those memories go away, and the younger generation has no opportunity to pick them up because there's no visual clues as to what had once been there. So I just ask folks to kind of remember that as we go through redevelopment, as we go through some of these processes that we're working through, not only on the lake shore, but other areas in the city too. People might remember, for example, of my age, that there used to be a roundhouse rail yard out where the new hospital is going. And that too was heavily contaminated property. So what we're having in its place, of course, a $300 million regional medical center. But if you don't know where you were, we don't know where we are. So I'm asking people to try and think that through. That's all I have, Your Honor. Thank you.
Thank you. We'd just like to mention that the City of Marquette is presenting this week the 4th Annual Art Week. It runs through Saturday. There'll be exhibits, concerts, workshops, performances throughout the city. Makes for a very interesting week. To learn more about it, you can go online at marquette365.com or just call the Arts and Culture Committee, either at the city office or their phone number. In 2 weeks, yes, we'll have the 4th of July, so it'll be, you know, parade and food fest at the park. I hope everybody plans on coming and attending, fireworks, of course. And lastly, I'm going to repeat once again to Mr. Verito, because he likes to take statements and twist them to make him look good. But in regards to the consent agenda, 100% that was my idea, to reserve speaking not to that, but just to the business items for the sake of efficiency order. Again, it was my decision only. City Manager, do you have anything?
I do, and because it's only 6:45 and we're usually done by 9, I've got an hour and 15 minutes. So it's early, right, Frank? I'll start at the top. Lighthouse Park is open to the public. We have not completed some of the work there that we had planned yet for this summer. That is because of the we got behind in some of our public works projects with the delayed curbside pickup and things of that nature because of the weather. We were there last week digging a hole, looking for some water and sewer lines as part of the process to begin some work there. That fence is going to come down eventually, I promise you, Frank. It's on the list. I hear about it, I ask about it, but we just haven't gotten to it. The only thing that's off limits to the public, per se, is the lighthouse and anything attached to the lighthouse, and access to that facility is through the Maritime Museum only. Continuing on, Mr. Verito, as long as I've been around, the only thing the city's ever talked about, even though there's roughly 900 acres that have been indicated in the Heartwood property as potential development, the only thing that I've ever heard any commission talk about was possibly selling and developing the property that's inside the city limits. The only value to selling property outside the city limits would be the sale of the property. Taxes would be earned by the Marquette Township in those areas. So there's never been really any incentive whatsoever to develop those other areas. The ad hoc committee was not run by developers. There was a developer that did participate in that committee, but there were also bikers, there were also hikers, there were also environmentally inclined people, and there were some business type people as well. It was rather well-rounded, and I think if you were to speak with anybody who was on that committee, I don't think they would tell you anything different. I want to comment, Margaret, about the RFQs. I can make those available to you. I think at some point we will have them on the website, but if you'd like hard copies, you can stop by my office tomorrow, or I can have them digitally provided for you. And thank you for commenting about the picnic rocks. Interestingly enough, we met with an engineer last week who has come up with a unique idea for potentially funding some projects there, or a project there that could actually help us with our preservation of that shoreline. It's a situation where the engineer was willing to seek and apply for grants, while at the same time helping us, using that money and helping us actually change the water flow around the island so that we wouldn't have any future erosion, as opposed to building abutments. It was a rather unique idea and a kind of different experience or meeting I had last week, so it's something we're pursuing there. The handicap mats, we do have the mat at Clark Park. The remaining mats are in progress, so to speak. We have grant applications out that are related to Lighthouse Park, McCarty's Cove, and those areas, and we're hoping that that money comes forward and we can provide mats as well as some storage for kayaks and things of that nature. And it's also remotely tied to our moving of the bike path through Lighthouse Park, which will be done later this summer. So it's coming. Unfortunately, those kind of things we put on a grant trail, and the grants are not always best time for us. I want to thank Wendy, first of all, for sitting with that death stare. No, for helping out and kind of leading the charge on the strategic plan. She and Dennis worked very hard on that. I want to thank you for approving that tonight. And like it was mentioned earlier, that is a roadmap for us to follow. It gives us an idea of what we should be pursuing and focusing on as an administration. It may not be something that everybody agrees on, but I think it's something that we appreciate as staff because it gives us an idea of where we're supposed to go as opposed to bouncing around in endless ways. And lastly, I just want to kind of support Commissioner Stonehouse's comments about the coal yard and the Founders Landing, the old railroad. I mean, I think I was a little younger man than you, but I remember those very well. And just to relate an interesting experience, I happened to be on the Father Marquette Park a few weeks ago, which, by the way, has been beautifully redone and will be dedicated in July. And a woman commented about how the view was ruined from that park because of the building that was going on along the shoreline. And my response was, I think it's beautiful. I mean, compared to what I used to see from up there and what I'm seeing now, I mean, I thought it was really a wonderful view. And I guess it's all a matter of perspective and maybe where your history is with this area. But I think there's two sides to that comment. But from my perspective, being here a lifetime, I think it's been really some really nice improvements. And I actually am thankful that our forebearers in the commission had the foresight to both convert Madsen Park and the Founders Landing area. So I think it's nothing but an asset to this community. Have I missed anything? I think it's all I have. Thank you.
We are adjourned.